Deep within the freezing archives of World War II lies a bizarre engineering secret. Allied scientists proposed a massive floating aircraft carrier constructed entirely from wood pulp and frozen water mixture, known as Project Habakkuk. This ambitious plan aimed to defeat German U-boats in the Atlantic. Could a ship made of ice actually survive the heat of war and enemy torpedoes? The idea originated from Geoffrey Pike, a brilliant but eccentric inventor working for the British government. He believed that traditional steel was too scarce to build new massive fleet ships. Pike proposed a material called pykrete. It was a unique blend of wood, pulp, and water, which, when frozen, became incredibly strong, resilient, and surprisingly slow to melt away completely. Standard ice is notoriously brittle and prone to shattering under stress. However, adding just 14% sawdust transformed the material into a structural substance that mimicked the durability of concrete. Churchill became deeply fascinated by this strange proposal. He realized that a massive, unsinkable aircraft carrier could provide vital air cover in the mid-Atlantic gap, where Allied ships were vulnerable. The scale of Habakkuk was truly staggering. Designers planned a ship 600 meters long, weighing nearly 2 million tons. It would house hundreds of planes and provide massive defensive power. To keep the vessel from melting, the design included an elaborate internal refrigeration system. Huge pipes would circulate cold brine throughout the hull to maintain a constant sub-zero interior temperature. Construction began on a small prototype in the remote Canadian Rockies. Lake Patricia provided the perfect chilly environment to test if pykrete could truly hold its own against the elements. Testing the strength of this material yielded shocking results. Pykrete could withstand explosions that would shatter ordinary ice instantly. It appeared that this material could survive the chaos of war. Despite its strength, critics worried about the massive logistical challenges. Building a ship of such immense size required millions of tons of wood pulp and constant energy to stay frozen. Moreover, the sheer weight of the ship meant it would be extremely slow. Moving this frozen island across the choppy Atlantic waters would have been a massive, slow-moving logistical nightmare. The British Navy also expressed reservations about the maintenance requirements. Keeping the internal pipes functioning in the middle of a heated naval battle seemed like a recipe for total disaster. By the end of 1943, the war in the Atlantic started changing. Longer-range aircraft and new escort carriers made the need for a floating ice base less critical now. Resources were diverted toward more conventional weapons. Project Habakkuk was slowly shelved, leaving behind only the lonely, melting prototype in Lake Patricia as a ghostly reminder of the insane plan. Today, pykrete remains a curiosity in military history circles. It represents a time when desperation pushed human creativity to the absolute limit, resulting in inventions that seem like pure fiction. While it never entered active combat, Habakkuk pushed the boundaries of engineering. It showed how unconventional materials could be harnessed if you have enough vision and the right chemical formula. Even now, scientists admire the physics behind the wood pulp reinforcement. It remains one of the most innovative, if impractical, projects ever conceived during the high-stakes pressure of global warfare. The legacy of Pike lives on in stories of bravery and bizarre genius. Projects like this define the spirit of an era where no idea was truly too cold or crazy. We often focus on planes and tanks, but the secret inventions kept the Allies ahead. Habakkuk proved that even the strangest ideas can sometimes hold the key to total victory. The cooling system was perhaps the most complex part of the design. Thousands of feet of tubing had to stay active, which made the ship vulnerable to any hull penetration. Imagine being a crew member on a boat made of frozen slush. You would be walking on a deck that literally had to be kept chilled to prevent turning soft. The sheer scale of the ship required building it in the cold north, where temperatures would naturally help the freezing process. Transporting it southward would have been a risky logistical gamble. When you think of the Atlantic battle, remember that the ocean was a battlefield of ideas. Ice, steel, and courage were all used to stop the advancing German U-boat menace. Was pykrete really the future of naval warfare? Perhaps not, but for a moment it provided hope that the Allies could master the environment itself to defeat their dangerous enemies. The wood pulp used was typically softwood like spruce. When mixed with water, it created a suspension that trapped heat and reinforced the crystalline structure of the hardening ice blocks. Interestingly, pykrete also had a lower rate of evaporation compared to pure ice. This meant the carrier could stay in warmer climates for a short duration before melting became severe. Project Habakkuk was officially cancelled in 1944. The materials were salvaged, and the secret remained mostly under wraps until long after the war ended, leaving history wondering what if. The prototype on Lake Patricia took 3 full summers to melt completely away. That is a testament to the resilience of the material, even without the active refrigeration system running. Geoffrey Pike continued his career as an inventor, always pushing for unconventional solutions to global problems. His influence on modern engineering and material science remains a truly fascinating historical study. The project serves as a reminder that science fiction often inspires real military technology. We should always look at the past with curiosity because truth is truly stranger than fiction. Modern naval architects still study the Habakkuk designs for their unique hull geometry. The shape was incredibly stable, designed to minimize the impact of heavy waves in the North Atlantic. The ship's sheer bulk would have made it nearly immune to torpedoes. A torpedo would hit the icy side, explode, and merely create a small crater that could be repaired. Repairs were as simple as adding more pykrete slush to the damaged area. It was essentially the world's first self-healing hull, a concept that continues to intrigue engineers working today. If Habakkuk had been deployed, it would have surely surprised the German High Command. Seeing an iceberg transform into a floating airfield would have been a truly shocking tactical experience. Building a ship of that size required thousands of tons of timber, which was actually quite difficult to source in the middle of a conflict where wood was in demand. The logistical effort to build Habakkuk would have potentially drained resources from other vital war sectors. Perhaps it was better that it remained an experimental project rather than reality. We often forget how cold and brutal the Atlantic was for those who sailed it. Habakkuk was an attempt to make the environment an ally instead of an enemy soldier. The project was classified until the mid-80s, keeping the story buried in government vaults. Once revealed, it captivated engineers and historians who had never heard of the ice carrier plan. Imagine seeing this structure today at sea. It would have looked like a jagged, massive glacier with a landing strip on top. Truly a monster of the deep, dark ocean. Project Habakkuk remains a testament to the sheer ingenuity of the human mind under pressure. It was bold, it was cold, and it was entirely, uniquely a product of war. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the secret history of the ice aircraft carrier. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more amazing war history. The sheer ambition of this plan cannot be overstated. It was not just a ship, but a floating fortress that challenged the very laws of materials used in naval warfare. Geoffrey Pike was truly a visionary who saw potential where others only saw ice. His dedication to this project drove him to keep advocating for it despite all the doubt. Consider the manufacturing aspect. You needed a factory that could keep everything below freezing while workers assembled the massive hull panels. It would have been a very cold workspace. The cost of refrigeration was a massive concern for the Admiralty. How do you keep a ship that size cool without constantly burning through your fuel and your supply chain? This ship would have been vulnerable to heat. Any catastrophic failure in the cooling system would eventually lead to the structural integrity failing, turning the carrier into mushy, slushy water. Despite these risks, the idea persisted for years. It was a time of absolute peril, and the Allies were looking for any advantage, no matter how small or strange sounding. Eventually, the development of the escort carrier, or the jeep carrier, rendered Habakkuk redundant. These smaller ships were cheaper, easier to build, and far more mobile than the giant ice. Looking back, we can appreciate the spirit of Project Habakkuk. It represents a brief moment in time when the impossible seemed achievable through scientific experimentation and pure, raw, stubborn determination. The wood pulp required for the pykrete was sourced from various forestry regions. It was a massive supply chain operation just to acquire enough sawdust for the final ship design. The cooling system utilized a series of pumps and pipes. It was essentially a massive industrial air conditioning unit that spanned the entire length of the giant ship's lower deck. Maintenance crews would have been busy. Any leak in the system would have meant immediate danger, so the pressure to keep everything running perfectly was always extremely high for everyone. The deck was designed to hold heavy bombers. It needed to be perfectly flat and durable, which meant the pykrete had to be poured and leveled with immense precision every day. One must wonder about the comfort of the crew. Life at sea is hard, but living inside an iceberg would have been a truly cold and challenging experience for sailors. The ship's defense strategy relied on its mass. It was designed to absorb damage rather than avoid it, which is a very different philosophy than the sleek, fast ships of today. The project was kept highly confidential. Even many high-ranking officials were unaware of the details regarding the ice carrier, which helped keep the operation secret from the German intelligence services. The prototype, although never entering service, provided valuable data. Scientists learned a great deal about the behavior of pykrete in large-scale applications, which influenced future research into composite material science. History is full of these lost projects. They remind us that for every successful invention, there are dozens of failures that helped guide us toward the technological world we inhabit now. The story of Project Habakkuk is ultimately a story of human ingenuity. We take the world as it is, and we mold it into tools to survive the toughest of times. We often talk about the Battle of the Atlantic as a struggle of steel, But beneath the surface, it was a battle of physics, chemistry, and pure imagination under duress. Jeffrey Pike proved that even a single person with a radical idea could influence global strategy. His persistence is something we can all learn from in our own daily lives today. It is worth reflecting on the resources spent on such massive war projects. The wood, the labor, and the energy could have been used elsewhere to save countless precious lives daily. The mystery of why the project ended remains a point of debate. Was it just the cost, or were there political reasons that influenced the decision to stop all work immediately? Regardless, the legacy of Habakkuk continues to inspire. It appears in books, documentaries, and internet forums where enthusiasts discuss the logistics of building a floating city out of frozen slush. Maybe in the future, we will find new uses for pykrete. Its ability to absorb energy and remain stable could have applications in extreme environments like space or Arctic research centers. The next time you see ice, think about the men who wanted to build a carrier with it. They saw potential in the freezing cold that helped them envision victory ahead. The lessons learned from the Habakkuk project also touched upon the importance of testing. Even the best theories must survive the brutal reality of the actual world before being implemented. What do you think? Would a ship made of ice have truly changed the course of the war, or was it destined to melt away into the pages of history books? Your opinion matters to us. Let us know in the comments below if you think the ice carrier was a genius breakthrough or just a massive waste of wartime resources today. This deep dive has explored the strange history of Habakkuk, from the mind of Pike to the cold lakes of Canada. It is a story that refuses to be forgotten entirely. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the bizarre. The world is full of forgotten wonders and secret inventions that shaped the reality of the past and our present day now. Don't forget to check out our other videos on strange military history. We have a growing library of content that delves into the secret weapons of the greatest wars ever. History is not just about battles, it is about the stories behind them. Every weapon, every ship, and every plan has a human face and a reason for existing, finally revealed. Stay curious and keep exploring the past. You never know what other fascinating secrets are waiting to be uncovered in the dark corners of the archives of the world history today. The scale of the pykrete project was unlike anything ever attempted before. It was a bold gamble that required trust in science and the ability to imagine the truly impossible here. The sawdust used in the construction process acted as an insulator. It was this simple addition that made the difference between a puddle and a floating fortress in the cold sea. Many people have speculated if pykrete could be used for Arctic housing. Its thermal properties are actually quite impressive, making it a potential material for remote and very cold climate shelters. The military often discards ideas that seem too unconventional, yet these bold experiments are what drive human progress in engineering and help us solve the most difficult problems of the future. We need to celebrate the inventors like Pike. Even when their plans fail to come to fruition, the boldness of their ideas provides inspiration for the next generation of creative thinkers. Imagine the sight of a fleet of ice carriers at sea. It would have transformed the visual landscape of the war, making the ocean look like a scene from fantasy movies. The project was a massive lesson in logistics. It taught the government that having a brilliant plan is only half the battle. The real difficulty is building it to last long. We hope this video helped you understand the complexity of Habakkuk. It was never just a crazy idea. It was a serious proposal taken to the very edge of human possibility. Every time you learn something new about history, you gain a perspective on the present. We are living in a world built by these brave and imaginative souls from the past. Thank you for joining us on this historical adventure. We strive to bring you the most interesting stories from the archives of human conflict and the brilliance of the past. Keep your eyes open for our next release. We are digging deep into more secret military projects that define our understanding of what was possible during the World War years. Remember that innovation often comes from necessity. The harder the conditions, the more we rely on our ability to create and find new ways to overcome the biggest of challenges. It has been a pleasure to share the story of Project Habakkuk with you. We hope you leave here today with a new appreciation for the history of military science. We truly enjoy creating this content for you. Your support allows us to continue digging through dusty archives to bring these forgotten stories of human innovation to the public eye. The past is a treasure chest waiting to be opened. Every story like this one adds a new layer to our understanding of the challenges our ancestors faced during times. We are grateful for every viewer who engages with these stories. You help us ensure that these remarkable feats of engineering and bravery never fade away into the mists of time. Stay curious and keep questioning what you know. There are always more hidden chapters to explore in the history books of the world, and we will find them all eventually. We leave you with this final thought. No idea is too strange if it can save lives. That was the core mission behind the giant ice carrier known as Project Habakkuk. The World War era was a crucible of technology. Everything we use today, from computers to radar, was accelerated by the massive need for innovation during those very intense years. So whether or not the ice ship was a success is almost secondary. The act of attempting the impossible is where the true success of the project actually lies for us. We hope this video has sparked your interest in history. There is always something new to learn, and we look forward to exploring those topics with you in the future. As we close out this video, consider the sheer scale of the challenges faced in 1944. It was a time of struggle, but also a time of amazing creative breakthrough. We are grateful to have you as part of our community. Thank you for your support, your likes, and your thoughtful comments that keep our channel thriving and growing every day. This is not the end of our journey into the past. We have many more secrets to uncover, and we are thrilled to bring you along for the ride as well. Once again, thank you for watching the deep dive into Project Habakkuk. We will see you in the next video, where we continue our exploration of history's most incredible secret projects. It is fascinating to consider how much trust Pike had in his own calculations. He stood firm against the critics, believing entirely that his ice-based composite would withstand any attack. The environmental impact of such a project is a modern concern. Back then, they only cared about victory, yet the sheer size of the ship would have surely affected local marine life. Perhaps we should build a time machine to visit the Canadian Rockies in '43. Seeing the ice prototype in person would be a dream for any fan of military history today. Every failure is a stepping stone to success. The lessons learned from Habakkuk helped refine the materials used in subsequent naval constructions for years to come after the war ended quickly. Do you feel that modern scientists should revisit these forgotten projects? There might be hidden gems in these old files that could provide solutions for our own modern-day challenges and problems. We are proud to share these stories with you. Each video is a tribute to the people who worked tirelessly in the shadows to change the course of history for everyone forever. The sheer weight of the ice ship was calculated at 2 million tons. Just think about that. It is like a small mountain made of ice floating across the Atlantic Ocean waves. The cooling brine pipes would have been prone to blockage. Even a small buildup of ice inside could disrupt the flow and potentially lead to the entire ship melting away quickly. We must remember the bravery of the test pilots who would have flown from this ship. Taking off and landing on an ice deck would have been a perilous, cold, and nerve-wracking